Hello, it is my pleasure to bring you someone I have known for several years now. And we are celebrating, if you haven't heard, we are celebrating the 10-year anniversary of Soar to Excellence coaching. Now, Jill and I are both physicians, and I will introduce her in a moment, but I wanted to frame this for you guys. When doctors go to school, we do not realize that maybe going to school forever is not all the answers. We tried it. We thought we had the answer. We thought that was the last stop in our education. And we both, Jill and I, decided that there's more that we would like to know and how we can serve patients. And so I was very, very careful for the summit. I am a whole legacy virtual wellness summit that we're having on May 4th from 10 to 2. I have several guests. Dr. Jill is speaking about EFT and tapping. And the reason why I pick people like her is because she has a lot of gifts, skills, and ways to help people. So we want to make sure that if there are questions that you have for her, questions about the different types of modalities that she offers in her practice, we would give you a chance to meet her, know her, and learn about all the ways you can take control of your health, because that's what she and I believe in. All right. I'm Dr. Toni, your board certified family medicine physician, certified executive coach, and I help you to master work and life. And the summit is going to talk about the things that are taboo or that we don't usually mention in medicine conversations or wellness conversations. So if you're visiting live, tell us where you are broadcasting from, watching from. And if you're on replay, make sure you tell us and leave a message for Jill so that she can see. Dr. Jill, I want to thank you. Welcome. I'm going to introduce you in a moment. Please tell them why it's important that you're here today.
It is important. First off, thank you so much for having me. I love any chance I have to interact with Dr. Toni is like the best chance ever. So, you ask and I respond. So I think that we might feel like we have to do what we thought we wanted to do 20 years ago, or what people think we should be doing, or that we have to hate what we're doing to do something else. And or that taking care of ourselves might be hard, or that it might require a lot of time, or uncomfortableness. And I am here to say that's not true.
So did y'all catch that? We always have a good nugget from conversations that we have publicly. Our last conversation was back in May 2020, where we had a whole podcast episode. And the takeaway from that was do no harm starts with you. And I think bringing that forward, yes, don't you remember? I came on your podcast and we talked about that's what I said out there to the public about. I just finished the TEDx and we were talking about martyr mindset, which is something that I specialize in. And serving everybody until you just evaporate or fall over somewhere is not okay. And do no harm, which is something that is in the Hippocratic Oath for physicians. We said, you know what? It starts with how you take care of yourself, not other people. So Jill is on my platform this time so that she can share her wisdom about taking good care of you and not pushing pills and all the things that you guys might think that physicians do. So let's give you a quick rundown of who this lady is. Dr. Jill is actually an expert in several things. She was an internal medicine physician for 10 years, and she understands the pressure that all of us have to try to take care of our families, take care of other people. And I want to make sure that she gets an opportunity to explain that even though she's traditionally trained as a physician, that she's moved on to other modalities to help patients. Can you tell them why someone who's not burned out would just say, I'm done with that? I'm doing something new.
Done with, just whatever they're doing.
Family medicine. No, I was family medicine and I moved on to other ways to help people. And you were internal medicine and moved on to other ways to help people, but it wasn't because of the usual burnout story.
Right.
What would you like to share with them about what inspired you to move to something else?
I honestly, my burnout happened before I learned to meditate. And then I learned to meditate. And that for me was what I needed to heal from my burnout. It's not the same for everybody, but that's what I needed. And so those were my thoughts of leaving medicine. We're back in 2011. And then I decided I wanted to become a meditation teacher in this tradition, which was 3 months in India. And so I thought, I'm going to go to India for 3 months. And then I'm going to come back and practice hospital medicine part-time and teach meditation, because that was my paradigm. I didn't know that I could actually do something else. And then I had an opportunity to move to China before I went to India. That was a little romance story that ended not with me being with that person forever, thankfully. But that was my opportunity to move towards something rather than leaving medicine. I never thought I was leaving medicine permanently, but I knew I was saying goodbye to Chicago and I was saying goodbye to cold winters, and no more of that for me, hopefully.
Right.
And yeah, so I left kind of, I think the meditation opened me up to like intuition and excitement and getting outside the box and listening to that voice inside my head that's like, why not try that? Or why not try that? Or just take the next step. Because it's not like I left my job knowing that I was going to end up in Atlanta as a meditation teacher and then 7 years later be a tapping practitioner and anti-racism educator. All I knew was I want to go to China. I like this guy, or like,
Wow.
and then it was like, oh, I don't want to go back to, like, this is what I want to do now. So it doesn't all have to be figured out in advance.
That is so important for women to hear. If our take-home message was anything in this conversation, it's that it's okay to just do the next right step for you. As an executive coach, a career coach, a lot of people come to me really with the fog. I know you were jet lagged, you just had a beautiful trip, but that mind fog, because they're in it.
Yeah.
The minute you take the next right step, you have more capacity to think beyond today. So I think it's really important that you talked about that. I want to talk about trauma. You're a trauma specialist. She's an EFT tapping practitioner and trainer, anti-racism educator, DEI consultant, trauma specialist, allyship coach, expert in physician wellness. That's how we met. Someone referred me over to Jill to have a conversation about her work. I was interested. And she's passionate about having people take responsibility for their problems as opposed to just hiding, avoiding, ducking, and maybe even just popping the pills, because that's what a lot of people do, because our colleagues are not all like us, right? So when you think about what are the benefits of having these tools that you offer, what would you say?
Well, I think the first thing I do want to say is that, like, I take antidepressants. Like I
Sure.
have no
Adjunct.
problem with the pills if the pills are what help us like get through the day and connect, do the things. I think a lot of times in our healthcare system, it becomes the only answer.
Mm,
We're not trained as physicians to know anything else. Like, okay, go see a therapist or go, here's pills. So I think that like we almost like we limit ourselves and we limit our patients because we don't necessarily have the tools available to offer anything else. And so I feel like it all kind of, it can work together. And I think the pills can work even better when we do other things that can help us to regulate our nervous system and to, sometimes do deep work to figure out what has brought us to the point where we're at. And so I guess I want to just kind of start with that. And there are so many different modalities out in this world that we are kind of, I feel like I was trained to distrust, like explicitly
mm,
to distrust anything that wasn't Western medicine. And
mm.
before I learned to meditate, I was like the 0% chance of becoming a meditator person. I was like not spiritual, not open. I was very like type A, anxious, just like the stereotypical doctor type. And so it took me like my whole life crumbling and burnout for me to be open to something like meditation.
Mm.
And then I was like, why the hell have I not, like, where was this my whole life? And I probably wouldn't have been open to it. And I probably wouldn't have even like listened to anyone who told me about it. But I think knowing that there's things like meditation, knowing that there's things like tapping that are evidence-based,
That's it.
tapping reduces cortisol. There's tons of data around it.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that there are these things that we can do, I think is so empowering because we don't have to suffer. We don't have to just be content with or discontent with the status quo.
women oftentimes aren't having real conversations about what bothers them. So yesterday's guest is a weight loss specialist and hormones and all these things. And so we would all agree as physicians, if we cluster around, that there are some things that need to be treated, and we give you the right treatment for that very finite or real problem, right? And you were a hospitalist. So, I mean, hey, sepsis is sepsis. We don't just meditate.
Right.
We're gonna give you some antibiotics for that. We're not saying give up the things that work or give up the things that have sustained you. We're saying that, is that good enough? And Dr. Jada's question for the audience, you guys have homework, was what are you tolerating? What are you tolerating? Oh, right. What are you tolerating? So anybody who's watching this, I would pose that question to Dr. Jill Wener. What do you think they should be? What's their homework? What action step? What journal prompt could bring forward? Maybe we could do better. The status quo is not enough. Maybe we could do a little better, and the things you offer would help.
Okay. Where are pockets of time in your day you are spending on things that are not serving you that you could potentially repurpose into something that might be better for you or feel more restorative to you? Tapping, for example, you can tap for 5 minutes. Meditation is 20 minutes. Like the type I teach is 20 minutes twice a day,
Sure.
and that shuts a lot of people down. And I get that.
Sure.
Tapping, you just do it when you feel upset, and you can do it for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and have a benefit from it. So I always like to talk about how many times did you hit snooze? How many hours or minutes are you spending scrolling through, all the things that we scroll through, and what might you do even just one of those times instead?
So that is exactly what I wanted to hear, because we may decide to survey them when we go on over there on Saturday. We may want to bring those questions forward so that people can say, I hadn't really thought about the fact that I assumed it takes a long time.
Yeah.
The things that would make me feel better must take lots of time. So because I was a certified personal trainer and wellness and weight loss and all these things before I was a career coach, a lot of times people would shut down thinking, oh, I don't have time for that. Who has time? I go to the gym at 5 a.m. They didn't want to hear that. So
I don't want to hear that.
Nonsense, lady. What are you talking about? So what you're saying is really maybe we assume that we can't get help when really it's right there. It's available to us. I actually have Jill's courses. I have the meditation course, and it's quite lovely, and her tapping. And what I'm going to say to you is, I wish I had learned these things as a teen or as a young middle school child. It would have been very helpful then.
Yeah.
And so what would you say to maybe moms? I'm a new mom, what would you say to new moms about modeling these behaviors in a way that may be helpful to other people, like their children?
Well, it's so interesting because I started off my post-medical life as a meditation teacher, and asking someone to take 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes twice a day out of their life, it brings up a lot of I don't know, shame and guilt, and I should be present for every single thing because I need to be controlling everything, every single thing. And so what I would share with the parents is you're not being a bad parent by taking time out. You're actually setting an example. What would life look like if we were raised by parents who took time out for themselves once a day, twice a day, to then come out of that being more regulated and more rested, and maybe smiling more or not crying as much or whatever, wherever we're at? What would that look like to have that as our role model and normalized? So it doesn't have to, when I learned to meditate, I was like, shh, I was the only one that knew how to meditate. And I had to I told my parents about it at Thanksgiving, almost as if I was coming out of the closet, because it felt like that much of a thing to share.
Right.
This big secret that I had, that I was meditating. So what would it have been like if I was around someone, not just to see them doing it, but then to be parented by, and I love my parents, and to be parented by the people who are doing these practices. And if you want your kids to do these things, it can be helpful to model it on your own too. So you can teach kids to tap very easily, or tap with them. And they might be like, what's your agenda? You know? And so if they see you doing those kinds of things, then they are going to be more likely to normalize it and be open to trying it themselves.
That's the take home message. If your parent, I'm speaking to myself as a new parent, if your goal is to give your kids what you didn't have, let's give them the visual that there's more than one way to do things, that I'm not going to be this yelling, screaming, angry, frustrated, distracted on my device person, because that's not the kind of parent I think any of us want to be. And I also, just as a leader of women, you and I are both leading other women. How we could benefit from just having other women in our lives who we're modeling it for each other too, supporting each other in that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have a very exciting gift for people who come and see your segment. We have a very exciting gift for them, and we're not going to tell them what it is, but I do highly recommend that you stop by and hear what she has to say. I also know that if you have questions, you can leave them for me. You can leave them in the chat. You can send them to us, but make sure you're registered so that we can find out what your questions are, serve you better. I'm a whole legacy.live. We will be seeing each other on Saturday, May 4th, 2024, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And what's best about this is that we're going to be interactive. We're going to have some fun. We're going to take some polls. We're going to hear what you guys are interested in and see if we can find you some solutions. And I found all of these amazing people who have been in my life for a period of time who have the answers that you're looking for, even if you didn't know that we could do something differently. So thank you for coming, Jill. Is there anything else that you would tell them that they want to bring to the summit besides an open mind?
I mean, I'm just looking at the title of the summit. It's like, what's your legacy? What do you want to leave? How do you want to be seen? How do you want to see yourself? How do you want to experience your life? And how do you want that to be passed on to whoever? It can be passed on to your kids if you have kids. If you don't have kids, I have stepkids, so like maybe something will get passed on, but passed on to the people you interact with. I think legacy has many different meanings. And so what are different ways that you can impact the way that you impact others?
Well, there you go. She did my job for me. Thank you so much. The truth is, I wrote a book on affirmations, best-selling book, 100 Winning Quotes and Affirmations for High Performers. And when I was speaking with the different folks like yourself, we realized that we need to affirm ourselves while we're working on we're not there yet, but we need to work on it. And knowing that someone's watching, knowing that you're an inspiration, knowing that you're uplifting others with meditation retreats and everything else, I just want to thank you for creating a different avenue for many of our colleagues to go instead of just being alone, and also for women to take control so that they do not have to be in despair and anxious that they don't know where to go. So I will see you guys at the summit. I'm a whole legacy.live. We look forward to seeing you soon. And there's a link in the description, and we will see you shortly. We're going to go over to talk to our IG family, and Jill, I'll see you soon. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Wait, there's a comment here. Thank you. You're welcome. Look, you got a little thank you there.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for coming.